Hi, welcome to this episode of ComSpeak on Founder India. Today we have with us a very special guest. We have Bharatendu Kabi, the head of corporate communications at Hero MotoCorp. Bharatendu is a veteran in communications who began his career in journalism and then moved into corporate communications. Thanks for coming on board to the show, Bharatendu.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for inviting.
We'll start by asking you about how your journey began. Tell us more about how you got into journalism back in the mid 90s, and then we'll move along to see what you did after that.
Well, so immediately after my postgrad from Utkal University in Bhubaneswar, I was preparing for what was at that time possibly a national pastime, preparing for civil services. During that time, I came across a print ad by the Press Trust of India in Delhi, inviting candidates for trainee journalists. So I applied. A couple of written tests and an interview later, I joined as a trainee journalist in the Delhi bureau, 1st of April 1995. So that's how I came into journalism and stayed in PTI for close to 5 years.
Tell us about that. Why did you quit? What happened? What led you to moving from a journalism job to corporate communications?
Well, I was not looking to leave journalism. My getting into corporate communication happened purely by chance. I didn't go out looking for that job. So while being in PTI, one of my senior editors, he told me that PepsiCo is looking for somebody from the media side to join their corporate communication team, and if I would be interested to apply. Now, back in 1999, I didn't know anything about corporate communication, and I was deeply into journalism. I was loving my job. There was absolutely no reason for me to change my profession. But that editor of mine suggested that why don't I give it a try, which I did. Again, the same process, went through a series of interviews, and of course, then they offered me the job. When I got the offer, I developed cold feet. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing by leaving a profession which I love so dearly. So I spoke to a whole lot of people, including my parents, who left the decision on myself. And then my editor called me one day. He said, "Hey, it's getting late. They can't go on waiting forever. So you have to say either yes or no. But what's the problem?" So I told him. He said, "You go back home and sleep over it. Take a call tomorrow and let me know." So I thought I should give it a try. And that's how in the month of October 1999, I joined PepsiCo.
You joined PepsiCo, and we know that you work with the legendary Deepak Jolly. Tell us more about that. What was it like working with this iconic gentleman, Mr. Deepak Jolly, and what you did in your initial years at PepsiCo?
As you rightly said, Deepak was my boss when I joined PepsiCo. In one sentence, I can tell you that for any aspiring communication professional, you cannot ask for a better mentor. As I said a little earlier, I did not know anything about corporate communication. I came in from journalism, and he did a lot of hand-holding. He practically nurtured me. I learned the ropes under him. He also gave me a lot of freedom.
Tell us about some of the interesting things you did during our PepsiCo stint, some of the things you learned from there, some of the things that you worked on that were not planned for. Tell us more about those few years at PepsiCo as well.
Well, that was my first job as a communication professional. And the learnings that you pick up during those early years shape your personality, shape your career path. All those learnings stay with you forever. First and foremost, expect the unexpected. If you are not prepared for the unexpected, for the unforeseen, then you will be all at sea when that situation hits you. It does not have to be a crisis. It could be anything. You can find yourself in a certain situation whether you are totally unprepared. That is the first learning. The second being that you have to be always truthful and genuine. you have to build your own credibility. Unless you yourself have that credibility, you cannot help protect the reputation of the brand that you are working for. So it is absolutely of paramount importance that you are always truthful, you are always genuine, you are always trustworthy. That is when the stakeholder groups that you are trying to address, they are going to trust you, they are going to believe you. And that's how, in turn, you protect the reputation of the brand that you are working for.
So you may be an honest and genuine person in the way you approach things. How does the stakeholder at the other end, maybe your boss, a senior, a journalist on the other end, realize that? Today's youngsters sometimes find it hard. They want to prove a point to their bosses or prove to their bosses that they are really genuine and honest, because a lot of people have skepticism about the new generation of youngsters coming into the workforce. So how does a youngster who's 23, 24, 25-year-old prove to his or her boss that he is somebody they can trust? I know there are things they can do and demonstrate, no doubt. But what are the things one can learn from yesteryears that can be applied today to prove to the boss that you are a genuine, honest, trustworthy person?
Okay, let me answer it in this way. And this is not just for youngsters, this is for everybody.
Right.
Whether you are being honest, whether you have that integrity or not, it gets automatically amplified when you are under pressure. When you are not in pressure, when you are working in a very good environment, there are no challenges. Everybody can be a good man. Everybody can be a good human being. Your true worth comes out when you are under pressure. How you perform under pressure, how you resist the temptation of going astray, how you resist the temptation of achieving your objective by whatever means, that is when you demonstrate it. It does not happen overnight. Again, you build your trust over a period of time.
So maybe it's a good thing for youngsters to pray that they have high pressure jobs sometimes, because those challenging times test them to the hilt and that helps them prove right.
Absolutely.
So talking of pressure, talking of unexpected, I remember reading, and I was just out of college then in the early 2000s, on the whole pesticide crisis that the cola companies faced. Tell us more about that and things that you can talk about publicly.
Well, I think for me, that was my first exposure to crisis management. And I can tell you that was indeed crisis management at its best. We did absolutely the best that we could have done under the circumstances. As I said, that was one example of where something hit you when you didn't expect it. And mind you, the allegations on the quality of your products came from a very credible organization. To counter that, you need to have empirical data, research-based data to prove that your products are absolutely safe for human consumption. And we did exactly that. So I think that was one of the examples or instances where a crisis was managed by knowledge-driven, fact-driven data. It was less on relationship-driven crisis management, which is what commonplace. For me to be part of the comms team at that point of time, it was a huge learning curve. And I think we did absolutely the very best in proving to our consumers that our products are absolutely safe for consumption.
So there are broadly two kinds of senior communication folks in this country, at least. One are those who stick to a specific sector. They work either in tech or banking and financial services or healthcare. But you're one of those few who move from an FMCG brand, again, it's a B2C company, to a completely different world, the auto sector. And you spent a long number of years there as well. So what led to you moving from a PepsiCo kind of a FMCG company to a two-wheeler company which you are now part of?
To be honest, I was not looking out for a change back in 2005, which is when an opportunity came, and that was purely from one of the search firms, and they spoke to me about an opportunity at Hero Honda, and the opportunity was to set up the corporate communication department. I thought about it, and I thought in terms of the organizations, if I had to join Hero Honda, then I was moving from one market leader to another market leader, from a American multinational to a Indo-Japanese joint venture. So in terms of moving from one organization to another, I thought it would be seamless, which is what it was. But the bigger, call it an opportunity in equal measure and a challenge as well, was to set up the corporate communication function. I thought I may not possibly get a similar opportunity again if I let go of this. So 2005, I moved from PepsiCo to Hero Honda in those days, which is now Hero MotoCorp.
Right. And next year it will be 15 years that you've been with this company now.
Oh yes, a decade and a half.
Right. The other cool thing about your career graph is you've been in just 3 organizations over 25 years. Today we have people doing almost one job every couple of years and changing in PR, corporate communications. There are exceptions, no doubt. But you're one of those few who stuck around 15 years. Tell us about that. What goes into sticking around in one place for 15 years in today's times when there's so much of temptation to pick up a new job every few years? I don't think there are more than 10 names that come to my mind in Indian corporate communications that have been in the Corpcom job for more than 10 years. There are about 9 or 10 people I can count on my fingers. But yeah.
Right. What is the provocation for you to look for a change? That has to justify your decision to leave a particular company and go to another. For some people, sometimes, mostly it's money, could be an upward growth in terms of moving from a smaller role to a bigger role, etc. But you have to do a trade-off. You have to do a trade-off in terms of what do you want out of your work life. How committed you are, how passionate you are about the brand that you are working for. If you want to let go of that level of commitment, that level of passion that drives you day in, day out, and look for some other gratification, then that's a very personal decision. In my case, as you know, when I joined, the company was Hero Honda, market leader. The mandate was for me to start the function of corporate communication, which was hugely challenging and equally fulfilling as well as a professional. Within a few years, as you know, I had spent about 5 to 6 years when the two partners decided to go their own way. And for me, again, leading the communication mandate, it was a huge opportunity. As I said, in PepsiCo, being part of the comms team when the cola war was on, when the pesticide crisis was on hindsight, I look at those situations as absolutely God-gifted opportunities for me to learn. Similarly here, I think I was absolutely at the right place at the right time when the transition was happening. And to be part of that team to set up the new brand, to establish the new brand, it was a huge opportunity. Immediately after our separation in 2011, we started our global expansion and working with the team led by Dr. Pawan Munjal, as you know, the global expansion in 4 years or maybe in 5 years' time, brand Hero is today present in close to 40 countries across Asia, Africa, Central America, South America. So every day is a new day. So when you enjoy your job so much, I don't think there is a reason for you to look elsewhere.
The other thing I realized talking to you previously was you just don't sell bikes, you just don't promote two-wheelers. You also do a lot of sports marketing and a lot of sports-related activities through the year. Tell us about that and tell us about 1 or 2 of your sports-related campaigns that have really stood out for you that you worked on from scratch and have built to make Hero brand what it is.
You are right. Hero MotoCorp is arguably the largest corporate promoters of sports around the world and multiple disciplines, football, hockey, field hockey, cricket, golf, and this has been going on I mean, our association with this multiple discipline of sports is possibly more than 2 decades now. Well, if you look at football today, Hero is possibly the largest promoter of football in the country today. All your domestic football leagues, starting from Hero ISL, Hero I League, Hero I League for Women, Hero Super Cup, Hero Intercontinental Cup. We are the title sponsor of all the domestic leagues, in addition to being the sponsor of the Indian national football teams, both men and women, across age groups. So football is where we are promoting this game all across the country. Similarly, I spoke about the Hero World Challenge, but if you look at India, Hero has been the title sponsor of the Hero Indian Open for both men and women for many years now, which are the National Open golf in India. And of course, we are also partners of the International Hockey Federation, FIH. So these are some of the other platforms that we are associated with.
Thanks for sharing those. We've done a lot of talking from your professional journey, from PTI to PepsiCo to Hero to sports marketing. Let's go back to Rairangpur. I heard from you earlier this morning that you grew up in this town called Rairangpur in Orissa. Tell us about your growing up years, your schooling years, how you had fun playing with friends and siblings as you grew up, and then moved on to college and then to Delhi to work here.
You touched a very emotional subject. Rairangpur is where I was born, spent my early years, my entire schooling in Rairangpur. I would consider myself absolutely fortunate to be born in Rairangpur, because that town personifies small town India. Had I not been born there, I would have possibly never known what small town India is all about.
So your parents still live there and you keep going back there to see them once in a while?
Oh yes, my parents still live there. Yes, that's my ancestral house.
Tell us about how does Bharatendu Kabi unwind? What do you do besides being engrossed with work, with travel for sports marketing causes and other things? Tell us more about what you do to unwind with your wife and son and yourself.
Yeah, okay, first of all, I enjoy my work thoroughly. So I don't think I need to separately unwind. It involves a lot of travel. It involves a lot of interaction with very interesting people from different parts of life. But let me answer your question in a different way. You know, you and I grew up in a generation which spent a lot of time with books, unlike today's generation where gadgets have replaced books. So that habit has stayed with me. And so if you ask me how do I unwind, then possibly I can say by reading and listening to music. Otherwise, I watch a lot of sports on television, sometimes on my phone when I'm mobile. So sports, music, books, and of course, as you rightly said, spend time with family and friends.
One advice you'd like to give 21, 22-year-olds making a choice to get into public relations, corporate communications and this profession, what would that advice be?
Be grounded. This profession gives you huge opportunities for growth, but no matter how far you go, no matter how much you achieve in life, always stay grounded. This is one profession which is a great equalizer. As I said a little while back, I was talking about building your trust, building your credibility, your own credibility. It takes years to build that. It takes a minute to ruin everything. Right. Which is why it's absolutely paramount for you to always stay grounded, to always stay humble, always keep learning. I don't think there is any other profession which gives you the kind of exposure, the kind of diverse exposure to different fields of life, different walks of life, different sectors as this profession.
Before we end, I'll do a quick 9 to 10 questions with you in a rapid fire mode. I'll just pick up this set of questions. You have just 3 seconds to answer and then we move to the next one.
Okay.
Tell us the most trusted brand of yours.
Apple.
Apple. The book that is your favorite of all the books you have at home and office.
Wuthering Heights.
Okay. The best organization you've worked for so far?
All three organizations.
You want to be safe on that one. The boss you admire the most and why? The boss you admired the most and why?
Dr. Pawan Munjal, because of his vision, because of his far-sightedness, and because of all the learnings that I have been able to pick up working with him.
A fellow communicator that inspires you, somebody else in corporate communications?
Deepak Jolly, without a doubt.
Cool. Tell me a communication campaign that you wish you had worked on, either in India, globally, that was a campaign you admire and you say, wow, I wish I was on that campaign as well. One that stands out for you.
Not a brand campaign in terms of a product launch or anything, but looking at the way Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached out to multiple stakeholder groups, whether it's the electorate, whether it's investors, whether it's global investors, global leaders, or even the diaspora around the world. It's absolutely phenomenal. Starting from 2014, you had the Madison Square Garden event, and then the very recent one at Houston. I think it's absolutely out of the box, and I don't think any other global leader had done this kind of outreach program ever in history before. So for any communicator, I think that's hugely inspirational.
It's a case study to follow and learn from. Yeah. What's your favorite holiday destination? The place you love to go back to again and again?
Rairanpur.
Nice. And lastly, how does one describe Bharatendu Kabi in 3 words? How does Bharatendu describe Bharatendu himself in 3 words?
That's not for me to judge, but if you ask me, I can only say one word, which is grounded.
Thanks so much, Bharatendu. It's a pleasure having you on this show. I look forward to engaging with you beyond this show in the future as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
Really
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, that was Bharatendu Kabi, the head of corporate communications at Hero MotoCorp, in a candid conversation with me. We hope to have more such conversations with other comms leaders in the days to come. Thank you.